Life in California was more than just digging for gold. To offset the drudgery and disappointment that a prospector routinely experienced, the 49ers developed a culture as enduring and colorful as that elusive gold. For most of the miners, life back in the eastern cities was secure and sedentary. But once in California, life was anything but that.
Gold mining communities kind of come and go. They have their life and it expires and pack up and move on. That's probably a normal course of things. A lot of small mining camps founded on a stream would last for a few months and then disappear.
Gomorrah, Delirium Tremens, and You Bet were some of the names given to mining camps and towns and reflected the life lived in them.
Saloons proliferated, gambling dens proliferated, and as well as brothels. Life was raw, rugged, fast-paced. Most of these towns were open 24 hours a day.
Vice seems more alluring here. It comes to be a substitute for common amusements. The miner has not the society of the home circle to cheer and enliven him. Daniel Woods, 1850.
Homesickness was so prevalent among the miners that a fortune was made in selling Gold Rush letter sheets. This special stationery depicted scenes of life in the diggings and was sent to loved ones left behind. If there was anything that could bring a sense of stability and continuity to this far-flung, all-male society, it was women.
The women were often spearheaded the drives to raise money to build a church, to build a school. These other institutions that bring stability and security in a civilized atmosphere to a mining camp.
Women in California during the gold rush were as rare as the chances of striking it rich.
Women in the gold country only made up about 1 out of 20, never any higher than that.
The story is that when a woman did her laundry and hung it on a line, men would stand and just look at it by the hour.
And another woman said that men came from all over to look at her, and she said even in her best days, she'd not been considered handsome.
Most women went out to civilize the area, but some got in the mood. And the divorce rate in the mines was very high, and the infidelity rate was very high.
Abby Mansour captured this perfectly in a letter she wrote from the mining community at Horseshoe Bar to a friend in the East. And she said, "You need not think it strange if you see me coming home with some good-looking man with a pocket full of rocks. It is all the go here for ladies to leave their husbands. 2 out of 3 do it."
The women that came west were just like the men. They were the most brave, bold, entrepreneurial, spirited, optimistic women that America had to offer.
Diaries that women left behind suggest that women had gold fever every bit as much as men did. Lucina Parsons has a diary entry date by date in which she said, "I went again to the canyon and the gold fever raged. Hard work." But she had the gold fever.
Contrary to popular belief, most gold rush women did not earn a living as prostitutes, but as laundresses and cooks.
Margaret Frink said she'd heard how much money women could make by cooking for men, $16 a week, and all you had to do was serve it up on a slab of wood.
Some women got rich entertaining the miners. The most famous one was the notorious Lola Montez.
Here was Lola Montez doing this absolutely risque, outrageous dance. You see, she wore these party-colored petticoats in which she had sewn little spiders, and she would get on the stage and do this sort of very quick dance, which she was rummaging around in her petticoats for these spiders that had invaded her. And of course, this was really quite risque when women didn't show their ankles.
Her first performance on the stage in San Francisco, tickets sold for $65, which is the equivalent of $2,000 or $3,000 a piece in today's money.
Lola was just one of the attractions of San Francisco, a city born in the gold rush.
Probably the most cosmopolitan city on the face of the earth at that time, because people came from all over the world. Every language, every costume, it must have been really an exciting time to see these things.
The excitement of San Francisco was that anything went.
Drinking, gambling, and debauchery. far from being frowned upon, have been patronized by men who, in any other country, would not risk their reputation by even the suspicion of contact with such scenes. The San Francisco Evening Picayune, September 1850.
In spite of its vices, the virtue of San Francisco was that it sparkled with all the colors and textures of gold rush society. Everyone, whether American or foreigner, miner or merchant, speculator or entrepreneur, came through San Francisco. What emerged was a social dynamic that is still uniquely Californian.
All the way around, we're constantly seeing failure bumping into success. And that is what California was all about. The gold rush, I think, taught men in California by the tens of thousands that failure is not the end. If they were at home and failed, they'd be criticized. In California, they can fail, nobody cares, and a whole lot of other people have failed too, so what? And it's a marvelous point, and it's an important source of the energy of California.
With failure no longer a stigma, many indulge another uniquely California pursuit, self-reinvention.
California was every man's dream, because California was one of the last frontiers in America. Here in California, whatever you were on the East Coast, you could reinvent yourself and become something new and exciting.
Eliza Farnham said it absolutely best when she's talking about this tendency of Californians to advance themselves, to achieve their ambitions by simply claiming them. She put it quite perfectly when she said, if he could play a fife on training days at home, he will be a professor of music here.
Perhaps the most extreme example of self-reinvention was that of Joshua Norton. As a young man, he came to San Francisco from England and soon lost a fortune trying to corner the grain market. But this personal failure did not deter him from later buying a fancy uniform and declaring himself Emperor of North America. He issued proclamations to amuse San Franciscans and reigned over local bar rooms. At his death, Emperor Norton was buried with all the pomp befitting a true monarch. The only thing more memorable than the diversity of the people who came to California during the gold rush was their numbers.
I think you could conservatively say that nearly 250,000 rushed into California in the first few years as a direct consequence of the discovery of gold.
You simply couldn't have that number of people without demanding political participation. And they did demand it.
On September 9th, 1850, only 2 years after Marshall's discovery of gold, California was admitted to the Union as the 31st state, but not without some controversy.
A lot of blacks came out here, and California recognized them as free citizens. The issue of California joining the Union in 1850 came about with bringing the fear that it would break the balance between the southern states and the northern states on more issues than slavery, but slavery certainly is a key issue. So to make it happen, some kind of a compromise had to be crafted in Congress. So you have the Compromise of 1850, which is the device that allows California to come in and sets an agenda for future states to enter.
California is conquered, gold is discovered, and it's a state. And just remember what the motto of California is. Eureka. Discovery.
You all want to run your businesses more efficiently. So we